Hello, I'm making this video because of a realization. Now, since 2020, the one word that seems to have captured the attention and imagination of the entire world, and it is continuing in 2021, that word is COVID-19. And in connection with the treatment of COVID-19, there's a lot of information and a lot of misinformation. So what I decided to do was to conduct a basic one-word query on a search engine. I'm using Microsoft Bing, but you could be using Google. And I'm fairly confident that the results that would be on the first page would very much be similar for me as they would be for others around the world. Now, what could be different is when references for news are given, because this news that I'm looking at is in connection with my locality, which happens to be India. So these news sources, I believe, are customized to show on the front page sources that would be most relevant to me. But then there are other results which would be useful no matter where you are accessing this search engine from and conducting the same search that I'm conducting. So I've entered one word, Ivermectin, into the search box, and right away there is enough information. And is this trustworthy information? I'm inclined to say yes. Why? Because it's presented in a very matter-of-fact way. It's open to me as it is open to anyone else. And I am free to investigate further. Now, before I go into the other four tabs that I have open, which are connected with the results on the first page, let me tell you in advance, I'm making this video as a demonstration of one important fact. We all have access to information, but it does not mean that we have access to understanding the information equally. These same results would be available to others as well, but the level of understanding is individual. And it would be wrong to ascribe a level of understanding simply on the basis of someone's credentials. You know what I mean. I would leave it up to you to decide. But right now, I'm just going to focus on continuing this video. So let me arrange these tabs so I can access them one by one in the sequence that I want to. Excuse me. Now, the first tab that I have opened is from drugs.com. Please excuse these sounds that come from the outside in between. People are going about their lives, and some of these sounds are really annoying, but they are what they are. Anyhow, this one is from drugs.com, and it's about ivermectin, just the drug. And there's basic information. You don't have to be a professional. You don't have to be an MD to understand this. But since the name of ivermectin has become associated with COVID-19, look at how clearly the information is presented. What is ivermectin? Ivermectin is an anti-parasite medication. Ivermectin is used to treat infections in the body that are caused by certain parasites. Ivermectin is currently being investigated as a treatment for coronavirus SARS-CoV-2, which is the virus that causes COVID-19. The FDA has not approved ivermectin for use in treating or preventing COVID-19 in humans. The World Health Organization recommend not to use ivermectin in patients with COVID-19 except in clinical trials. Is this clear enough? It is clear enough. Now, here is an important point. There are people, as soon as they will see these words, FDA, WHO, a layer of prejudice would affect how they perceive this information. I don't trust the FDA. I do not trust the World Health Organization. Well, think about that for just 1 minute. The FDA has gigabytes or maybe terabytes worth of information that has accumulated over decades. What information on the FDA is there that you do not trust? You don't trust the institution? Anything and everything it has done? Similarly for the World Health Organization. I don't trust the World Health Organization. What about the World Health Organization? Which piece of information? And why do you not trust the World Health Organization? What is your rationale? I know this is a deviation from ivermectin, just one medicine. But being conscious of how people think, I'm making this point. When I do a search and I look at this information, I look at how objectively it is presented, and then I'm going to compare it with not only the sources that are recommended by a website, but from opposing information as well. Now, comparing it with opposing sources of information would be necessary if there is reason to be skeptical about that piece of information that I'm looking at right then. What I'm seeing right now, I've already gone through this information. So my level of skepticism right now, because of activity, is very low right now. Because as I'm looking at this information, I'm seeing it is simple, it's in clear language, and I can investigate more if I want to, which I will in just a moment. So here's a little piece of information that I did not know, and I looked at it yesterday. How should I take ivermectin? So it says here, never take ivermectin in larger amounts or for longer than recommended by your doctor. Follow all directions on your prescription label. Take ivermectin on an empty stomach at least 1 hour before or 2 hours after a meal. And this is what I did not know. Ivermectin is usually given as a single dose. Take this medicine with a full glass of water. Of all the discussion about ivermectin that I saw on Twitter, and I've been seeing it for months. I've been seeing it since last year. And I never saw personally anyone mention this fact that ivermectin is usually given as a single dose. I cannot think of very many medicines that are given as a single dose. Some are taken twice a day, some are taken as a course for 3 days, some are taken as a course for 5 days, some as a course for 7 days, and there are medicines that people continue to take every day for a chronic health condition. When I saw this line that ivermectin is usually given as a single dose, it immediately struck me as a unique piece of information. And it should for someone else as well. Now, I don't want to make this video excessively long, which is very easy to do. I will go on to the next page, which is most relevant. Can ivermectin be used to treat COVID-19 coronavirus? This was updated on June the 9th, 2021. And the official answer by drugs.com is this. Ivermectin should only be used in patients for COVID-19 in a research setting as part of a clinical trial. An in vitro trial has shown ivermectin reduces the number of cell-associated viral RNA by 99.8% in 24 hours. And in vitro studies when the study cells in a laboratory and not in a living organism. Is that important? Would someone look at this line? An in vitro trial has shown ivermectin reduces the number of cell-associated viral RNA by 99.8% in 24 hours. Great. They reach a conclusion. That means ivermectin is effective for treating COVID-19. But what about the line right next to it? An in vitro study is when they study cells in a laboratory and not in a living organism. Which piece of information is more important? Both of them are important. So why would you pick one and ignore the other? Reading on, clinical trials have been conducted on people to test how well ivermectin works against COVID-19. This is in vivo testing. Currently, there is a low level of certainty whether ivermectin helps treat COVID-19, and more studies are needed. Now, if you're skeptical about the time it is taking, well and good. You have the right to be skeptical here. But just remember that the difference between a laboratory study and a clinical trial conducted on people is a very big difference. A very big difference. Take yourself, for instance. Now you come to a doctor and you say, I have tested positive for COVID-19. I want to take ivermectin because I've read this information on drugs.com, which says that ivermectin reduces the number of cell-associated viral RNA by 99.8% in 24 hours. And your doctor, who is familiar with your history, with your health, and other conditions, other medicines that you're taking, says, well, I am not going to prescribe ivermectin to you for so and so reasons. And he gives you all those reasons. And you discuss with him and you reach a conclusion. That is how it should be. But if someone, just because they read something on the internet, whether it is information that seems to be in favor of their case or against, how wise would it be to experiment on yourself, not knowing what to do if something goes wrong? Could something go wrong? Well, just let's go back and look at the side effects of ivermectin. Ivermectin side effects. Get emergency medical help if you have signs of an allergic reaction to ivermectin. Hives, difficult breathing, swelling of your face, lips, tongue, or throat. For those people who can have that allergic reaction, this would not be a trivial matter. Someone looking at, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, difficulty breathing, what's the big deal? Well, it depends how serious the allergic reaction is. It could even be life-threatening. The website itself says, call your doctor at once if you have eye pain or redness, puffy eyes, problems with your vision, severe skin rash, itching or rash with pus, confusion, change in your mental status, balance problems, trouble walking, fever, swollen glands, stomach pain, joint pain, swelling in your hands or feet, fast heart rate, trouble breathing, loss of bladder or bowel control, neck or back pain, seizure, that is convulsions, or a lightheaded feeling like you might pass out. And this is from one dose of ivermectin. Is this information to be taken lightly, to be ignored, to be considered not really relevant because someone said ivermectin is possibly a treatment? It would not be irrelevant to someone who suffers the side effects from one dose of ivermectin, especially if that dose was taken without medical consultation or not under medical supervision. That is the risk. How can that be ignored? Let's go to this other website. This is the nih.gov website. It's a government website, obviously. Again, about ivermectin. Monitoring adverse effects in drug-to-drug interactions. By all means, look at this information. By the way, I will be leaving the links for all these pages in the description for this video on YouTube. So you can look at these web pages. But my recommendation would be not to extract just a piece of information which you think is relevant and the rest is irrelevant. That is not how information works. Of course, some information would be more important than others. Some would be more relevant at a time than others. But all this information that has been put on this web page has been put there for a reason. And if you want to look positively at ivermectin, or you've been persuaded to look at ivermectin in a positive way in connection with COVID-19, then also, to be fair, look at the information that talks about its adverse effects so that you are forewarned and not biased for or against this one drug if someone has to seriously consider taking ivermectin for COVID-19. And this is the FDA website. And Again, very simply presented. You don't have to be a doctor to understand this information. Two people, you and your friend, a brother and a sister, a husband and a wife, can sit down and together look at this information and come to some sort of an understanding. Or if you can do it by yourself, very good. Just look at the information and you can get an understanding. Here's what you need to know about ivermectin. FDA has not approved ivermectin for use in treating or preventing COVID-19 in humans. Why is it specified in humans? Because COVID-19, though it is associated with humans, that is not the case with ivermectin. Ivermectin is also used in animals. So the case for a human using ivermectin is different from an animal using ivermectin. I hope you are familiar with that information. So, coming back to this point, ivermectin tablets are approved at very specific doses for some parasitic worms, and there are topical on the skin formulations for head lice and skin conditions like rosacea. Ivermectin is not an antiviral, a drug for treating viruses. Taking large doses of this drug is dangerous and can cause serious harm. If you have a prescription for ivermectin for an FDA-approved use, get it from a legitimate source and take it exactly as prescribed. Never use medications intended for animals on yourself. Ivermectin preparations for animals are very different from those approved for humans. So, the lesson thus far, and I'm coming to the end of this video. Social networking is an extremely poor source when one requires in-depth, detailed information where one has to make a decision. When one has to make a decision regarding one's own health, it is the duty of that person to look in depth into what they are going to do or not going to do. So this video is only about ivermectin, but it is also about how people think and the decision-making process. Now this video, as I'm looking at my timer, is already close to 24 minutes. And would 24 minutes of your time be enough to get this information about ivermectin? Yes, it would be. And then with this information, you are forearmed to discuss it with someone who's qualified to prescribe it or not prescribe it. So prescribe it or proscribe it, but not on the basis of what your social networking interactions have persuaded you to believe. Considering the side effects, especially in consideration of the side effects. COVID-19 may not pose the kind of threat that the side effects from ivermectin could. And that is not something to be overlooked. I'm going to post this video to YouTube, and I'm fairly certain that YouTube will not find something wrong with the content of this video. If it does, I would like to know what that thing is. Why it found something wrong with it. But I have presented to you the web pages, the sources are right in front of you. I'm going to leave those in the description. I respect these sources because of the way the information is factually and objectively presented. So I'm quite satisfied with what I have learned today. So this is enough information. This is enough of a length of a video. There were some disturbances from background sounds. I apologize for that. But I have said what I had to say, and hopefully this video would be informational and educational to you. That is my wish. Thank you for your time. Take care and goodbye.